Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are one of my recurring viewers and you decided to tune in for another vlog, thank you so much. Or welcome to my channel if you're new here. My name is Zsuzsi. How are you all doing? I know that I've already said hi in this video. I just wanted to pop in like person, you know, in the flesh and say hi. So currently, I am sitting under a tree trying to escape this insane heat wave that basically hit Boston. It is very early in the morning. I think, well, okay, like not very early morning, but I think it's around 9 a.m. and the temperature is already like 37 Celsius. That's around 100 degrees for my Americans who are watching. And I just finished my cardio. I decided that instead of the gym, I would just do like a big walk while listening to my book that I'm going to update you guys about that book just in a second. And now I just need a little bit of rest, a little bit of breeze, and this is the perfect time to update you guys about The Watchers, because I am reading The Watchers by A.M. Shine. I wanted to read this book before the movie came out. I just never really got around reading it, and now that the movie is out and I definitely want to watch the movie, I'm like, okay, it is time to read the book. Well, I decided to listen to the book specifically because one, the audiobook is free if you have Audible membership. I do. And two, the physical cover for this book is atrocious, or at least in the United States, because you know they always do this thing. Once a book is made into a motion picture movie, they like change the cover and everything becomes about the Hollywood cover and the Hollywood actors and actresses, and it's something that's driving me insane. They do this all the time. So I was like, I need to get an older version of this book where the cover was like this beautiful white, and apparently the edges are like sprayed red edges. It's actually a gorgeous book, so I am trying to hunt for this physical copy. I started it this morning and I'm already like almost 50% into this book. I don't know how it's possible. Like, I don't know how I'm like reading it this fast. But this story is so good. Honestly, it's like jaw-droppingly good, and I just cannot stop listening to this book. This whole story and everything just sucked me in, and literally I just cannot let this book go. The first chapter starts with a guy named John, and John is in the middle of the woods and it is still daylight, but he is basically trying to get back to his wife and back to like this like house thingy that's in the middle of the woods, because that is the only place where they are safe. Oh, thank you for this place. But they are safe when the darkness comes, because when it is dark in these woods, these creatures called the Watchers, they come up from underground and like basically they hunt them down. And we just get to know a little bit more about John and his wife and how they ended up in the woods. Like their car broke down near the woods and then they just decided to walk, and then like, they are here and now they are trying to get out, and John is really desperate to get them out of these woods because he doesn't know how long they can survive like this. And I have no idea how the author does this, but guys, it's just a couple of chapters and I felt for John and his wife like so hard. I was like, oh my god, John, like get out of these woods, like go back to your life. I was like, oh, get out of these woods. And then we jump a little bit and then we get to see Mina, and Mina will be one of our main characters. And Mina is an artist, but she is a struggling artist, and she takes like, you know, these extra jobs here and there because she needs money, she needs to survive, she needs to pay rent and bills, whatever. And she doesn't really have a very good relationship with her sister. Her dad and her mother are not in the picture anymore, unfortunately, and she's just like trying to get by alone. And then she takes a job from her boss, and the job is to transport a parrot to like a buyer, because this parrot is like very expensive, blah blah. So just, you know, just take the parrot to the buyer. And then she gets lost, and then she ends up in the woods. Her car breaks down, and she's like, oh my god, like night is coming, what the hell am I supposed to do? So she just decides to walk, and then again she gets lost in the woods. She has absolutely no idea where she is, and then she suddenly sees a lights and kind of like a house structure, and she's like, oh thanks god, like maybe these people will help me out. And then a woman starts yelling at her to run, 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 run. So she does, she gets the parrot, and she's like runs inside this building, and then they basically like quickly lock the doors, and she's like, what the hell is happening? And then the woman is like, oh thanks god you got inside before the dark. And this house structure is very interesting because the way it's built is like basically it's just a room, and one wall of this room is like glass that basically on their side functions as a mirror. But okay, basically this is the first 2 chapters, so again no major spoilers here. And oh my god, this book is so insanely good. Now that I updated you guys, I'm just gonna go back to listening to my book. I'm also gonna do some paperwork. I have a little bit of content planning to do for my upcoming vlogs, and I want to plan out the video and such, and I will pop back in once I finish this book. Wow. Wow. Damn. I don't want to cry. I don't want to cry. I did not expect this book to like make me so emotional. I am like really close to cry, but I'm not going to. But oh my god, I am Shine. Like, what are you doing to me? I finished the book, guys. I just needed to sit with it for like a good 30 minutes. Sorry about the wind, by the way. I'm sorry if it interferes with the audio. I am trying to do my best, but you know, this is nature, and I am actually very, very grateful for the wind and this little breeze in this insanely humid summer heat. So I'm just trying to work with it. Oh. This book, although it's a horror book, it's a character-driven horror, and it really got me there, because you all know that I am a character-driven reader, and I'm always here for character work. And this author blew my mind. If you're somebody who doesn't like to read horror because you're like scared or something, or you easily get scared, I don't think that this book is scary, because it is mostly about the characters and relationships and interactions, and in my opinion it was really interesting. It is still like here and there it's a little bit creepy, but it's not like a very, very intense horror. Like, I wouldn't compare it to like Pet Sematary by Stephen King, you know, or It by Stephen King. It's not like that, but it was amazingly done. The only thing is that I saw the twist and the ending coming, but I don't think that the author wanted to hide that from us. Maybe he intended the readers to know this information all along, waiting for the other characters to figure it out. But the thing is that this book has a sequel. The sequel is coming out this October, and I love the ending, by the way. I love the ending. I think it's safe to say that I am picking up the sequel as soon as it gets published. Now, I am just going to continue with reading, because what else can you do in this heat? Nothing else. Slow summer days require reading and no other activity, at least in my humble opinion. So that's what we're going to do. I am going to continue with Heroes and Villains by Angela Carter. This is a very, very, very short book. I've never read anything by Angela Carter, and I am keen to sample her work. She is supposed to be amazing. And this is the cover that I wanted, and it took me so much time to hunt down this cover, but I got it. So yeah, this is going to be my next book. I did not do any work. I have this huge vlog coming up that I need to plan because I need to be very strategic about filming and everything. I have no idea, but this vlog is going to take at least 6 months, if not a year. I have no idea. That really depends on me, and just like I need to be very strategic about it, and I need to plan it out, but I couldn't because I was so incredibly invested in the Watchers that I'm like, it required my full attention. So I'm gonna do that, but I think what I'm gonna do first is not reading and working or planning, but getting some food because I'm really hungry, and I wouldn't mind like sitting in the AC a little bit. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I will start reading this book and get some food. Guys, I finished the first chapter in this book, and this whole book is like 7 chapters, so you know it is quite a significant chunk, and I love this book. Like 2 fantastic books in one day. Like this is like Christmas to me, like a very, very hot and humid Christmas, but book Christmas nonetheless. This book takes place in a post-apocalyptic world, but there is this gated community, and our main character, Mariana, she lives within this gated community with her parents and her brother, and this community is run by professors and soldiers who are supposed to protect them because there are the so-called barbarians who are living outside of the gates, and they just continuously keep attacking them. But also the barbarians themselves are attacked by people who are diseased. The book doesn't really detail it like just yet, like diseased in what way, and they called the out people. And then Mariana, when she turns like 16, because she followed her like growing up in this gated community, she is kidnapped by one of the barbarians, Jewel. I am loving it. I am loving the writing. I don't know why, but I expected that it would be a little bit hard for me to read it because I expected this book to be a classics, but it just reads so well, it flows so well. Angela Carter, I'm floored. You know what? No, I'm seated. I'm sitting in a chair, sipping my coffee. I am seated, Angela Carter, and I am ready to continue. Okay guys, well, it is the next morning. I just washed my hair and I want to leave it like this. My hair is naturally curly, but I combed it out this morning and I put like a lot of products on my hair and I want it to dry straight. So I'm just gonna, you know, leave it like this. And I'm having my morning coffee, and I thought that this is basically the perfect time to update you guys about Heroes and Villains because I did finish this book yesterday, and oh my I wanted to sit with it a little bit because yesterday when I finished the book I was like, I don't know if this is a book that I would recommend or not, and I had to sit with it and I had to think about it, and ultimately I've come to the conclusion that yes, I am recommending this book, but you gotta know what you get going into this book, because my expectations when it comes to this book, it was completely different from what I got. This book, this was my first Angela Carter, right? And now when people say Angela Carter, I think I understand what they mean. I think I understand when they say that she writes all these like gothic tales. Like, I cannot wait to read The Bloody Chamber from her, and everything is a little bit twisted and everything is a little bit dark, where now I understand. So do not expect like any kind of romantic stories going into this book. This book, wow, this I don't even know what to say. This book is easily the most unique piece of feminist literature that I've ever read in my life, and trust me when I say that I've read a couple. And this book is a commentary on misogyny and why misogyny exists in this world, and how the patriarchy in this world is driven by fear of females. This book is a commentary on religion, and this book is a commentary on relationships. And in this book, the relationships are truly stripped down to the bare minimums, and we are discussing the primal nature of human beings, basically, in this book. That's how I could summarize it without saying, too much and spoiling the book. I would recommend this book, and ultimately I am very happy that I read it, but it shocked me because this is not what I expected, because I knew that it was some kind of like dystopian story, because it said that after the apocalypse, right? But I expected kind of like a romantic story, and like, yeah, it's a weird romantic story. If you want to call it a romantic story, it's a very, very weird one. Anyways, this is finished and check, recommended by me. And the next book that I am going to start is It Ended Badly by Jennifer Wright, and this is the non-fiction book, and this is basically, as the subtitle says, this is the 13 of the worst breakups in history. And in this book, from what I know, just reading the back of the book and the synopsis and everything on Goodreads, that this book is basically a collection of 13 short stories that discusses the worst breakups that happened in history. And we will start with the Roman Emperor Nero, and then slowly we will work our way up to the 1950s Hollywood. And some of the characters that are in this book, Emperor Nero, of course, he has the first chapter, and then we also have King Henry VIII, and then also some very famous authors. And as long as we're talking about the 1950s, 60s or something, Hollywood, Elizabeth Taylor is also in this book. I don't know what to expect from this book. I never read anything by Jennifer Wright, but I am in the non-fiction kind of mood, and this is, more like a popcorn style non-fiction. It's not Sapiens, and because it's like 13 chapters, 13 stories, I feel that I can stop whenever I want to stop. I'm not going to lose the book. You know what I mean? So maybe while I'm reading all the other fiction books, I'm just going to read like 1 or 2 chapters in this book as kind of like a palate cleanser between the fiction books. But next time when I'm check in, it probably will be when I finished a couple of chapters in this book, and then I will start the next fiction book on the list. And I think, well, I'm still like choosing what I want to read, but I am in the thriller mood, so I'm gonna pick a thriller book, and then I'll come back and update you guys about my reading progress. Okay guys, so I finished the first 5 chapters in It Ended Badly, and I wanted to give you a quick update. Sorry, I just have to watch my step here. So, the first 5 chapters, wow, there are 2 chapters that really stands out so far, and it's chapter number 1, because that is the chapter that is basically about Emperor Nero. And wow, guys, like, I think that he was the definition of a psychopath, and this was an excellent chapter. And I don't know if the author, was strategic about it and chose this chapter to be the first chapter because it's just so fantastic, the whole story and the way she wrote it, or this is just simply the build-up of the book, and we start with ancient history and slowly working our way up to the 1940s, 1950s. Either way, it was so good. It got me hooked on the book, and basically I didn't stop reading up until chapter 5. And the other chapter that really stood out was the chapter of King Henry VIII, and I think that was chapter 4. Now, on this channel, we hate Henry VIII. We cannot stand Henry VIII, and I will never miss a chance. Again, sorry, I gotta watch my step here. I will never miss a chance of bashing Henry VIII. So that's what's about to come here. Now, this chapter was specifically about Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard, because those 2 wives, well, they ended up being beheaded by the other ones. Like, they also died, just very differently. And I remember, because I am kind of obsessed with the Tudors, right? But King Henry VIII said that he wants his reign to be remembered for decades to come, centuries to come. Excuse me, let me correct that. And I think that you achieved that, dude. We will definitely remember you, and your reign was very infamous. I just think that not for the good reasons. But anyway, so this chapter was mostly about Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard, and because I know a lot about the Tudors, and specifically Anne Boleyn, because I am obsessed with her, there was nothing new in this chapter. But when I read about Anne Boleyn and what happened to her specifically, it always makes me so sad and also angry at the same time, because this woman was so incredibly smart and so compassionate, and all she wanted to do basically was just to introduce religious reform. And because she failed to give him a son as an heir, very, very bad things happened to her. And just this in the story is something that's very sad and obviously incredibly misogynistic and unfair and all that. But what makes me angry is that it's not enough that they killed her. He also tried to do everything in his power to basically erase her from history. Still up to date, we have no Anne Boleyn portrait that was painted while she was still alive. Most of the portraits are from the time after her death, because he destroyed everything, and we still don't know exactly when she was born, because again the records were destroyed. And I think this is something that's making my blood boil, and I'm so happy that now we look at Anne Boleyn very differently, and he was not able to modify history completely the way he wanted to. And one of my favorite twists in history, if not my favorite twist in history, is Elizabeth I becoming the Queen of England and making a much, much, much better job out of her reign than her father did. And as a matter of fact, I am very happy for Mary the First, her sister too, because they were both neglected by Henry so bad, and then look, they both became queens. So yeah, I just wanted to put my opinion out there. So now all you guys know how I feel about Henry VIII, and honestly, an asshole, a monster, and yeah, he can go and fuck himself. But the chapter about him and Anne Boleyn and all his other wives, again, I think it was written very, very well. What I can tell is that the author is, like, you know, trying to be funny. And I get it, because again, it's kind of like a popcorn nonfiction. But the problem is that I don't really understand her humor. I don't find it funny. And sometimes it becomes a little bit annoying, but you know, it's like, it's nothing serious. It's not going to make me like DNF this book. I am enjoying it. I think it's really good. So I'm gonna take a little bit of break now because I need it, and then I will continue. And I think that the next time when I check in will be once I finish this book. So see you guys in a couple of seconds. Okay guys, I have to sit down and give you an update because there's like so much happening. I finished It Ended Badly. I also started Emma by Jane Austen, and I am about to start The Truth Hurts, which is the thriller book that I've been talking about, that I am in the mood to read. So first, this book. Out of all the 13 stories that is discussed in the book, it was probably the very, very first one. Emperor Nero's chapter was the one that I liked the most. And just like I said in a previous footage, I think that the author was very strategic about it and chose to write a first chapter that would hook anybody to this book, and that is exactly what happened to me. And honestly, after reading that chapter and about the Roman Empire in general, not just about Nero, you know, it just made me realize how incredibly appreciative I am towards today's society. It is not perfect. Like, we humans make a lot of mistakes and we definitely have a long way to go, but I would have struggled. I would have struggled in the Roman Empire, okay? That is all I am going to say. Now, I had no idea going into this book what to expect from certain chapters, because the only people that, or couples, relationships, whatever, that I knew about was obviously the chapter of King Henry VIII and also Elizabeth Taylor's chapter. I knew about those people and, you know, certain relationships that they had and certain breakups that they suffered, but everything else was actually very new to me. And if you don't want to read this book, just look up this one thing on the internet, okay? Kokoshka doll. Okay? Just look that up on the internet for me, and then you can decide whether to read this book or not. Look, ultimately, I am very happy that I picked this book up and that I read this book. Just like I said, it's a popcorn nonfiction and it will keep you reading because the stories are kind of short, entertaining. And the only thing I did not really like about this book is the author's humor and the commentary that she made here and there. I think I understand why she did it, because some of these stories are actually very, very sad. Yeah, there are funny things happening in this book, but you know, we're talking about breakups and heartbreaks, and sometimes men did incredibly awful things to women, and of course it's not that easy to read about. And maybe that's why the author decided to here and there, make a funny commentary just to lighten the mood and lighten everything. Oh yeah. But it just didn't really work for me. The humor, the author's humor, didn't really work for me. But am I going to pick up other books from her? Yes, absolutely, 100%. So I think that this was a success, and ultimately I recommend this book. Now, the other two books that I have here, these ones, I've already started reading Emma. I am in a thriller mood, but also I'm kind of I want to read Emma. I want to finish Emma. And if you've been around for a while, then you know that I actually soft DNF'd Emma around January, February, and I cannot DNF Emma. I have to read this book. Usually I don't do this. This year I really discovered the value in DNFing, but I am not going to DNF this book nope, I am chewing myself through it. I unfortunately do not enjoy it that much because I'm also reading Pride and Prejudice, and that is my favorite Jane Austen ever. But I am chewing myself through Emma, and I am going to finish this book in this video. And after this, the book that I will pick up is The Truth Hurts, because again, I am in a thriller mood. I'm not a big thriller reader. Every now and then I pick them up. When I am in a dark mood, then I like to read like horror, proper horror, not necessarily thriller, but I am in the mood. And yeah, this is the book that I actually selected for thriller in this video. So I will see you guys once I finished Emma and I am ready to start this book. Well guys, I finished Emma. I am so hot. Today is an insanely hot day here in Boston, guys. So yeah, I am hot. I am hot. Just not for this book. And I am so disappointed to say this, because this is the very first book now that I finished by Jane Austen in its, like, you know, original language. I am also reading Pride and Prejudice. Where is it? Here it is, and I am kind of like 60% in, and I absolutely adore this book. However, this one doesn't really work for me, but I chewed myself through, you know, just like I said, there was absolutely no way that I was going to DNF this book. Now, this probably makes me into a very, very basic reader, but I prefer Pride and Prejudice to Emma. I know that there are so many people out there who say that if you don't like Emma, then you just simply don't understand the book, and you just simply don't understand the humor in the book and Emma's character. And I actually think that that's 100% true, because I did not really connect to Emma's character. And while of course I understand that this book is funny, and honestly, like, there were times when, yes, when I laughed out loud, and I think that I understand what Jane Austen was trying to do, or I should say did, in this book, but somehow it just didn't work for me. So I go back to the basics, and you know, I just read the one that I think is her like best work, masterpiece ever. I also read Persuasion by Jane Austen, but that was a book that I read in like a translated version, so you know, not the original English. And I also really like that book. It's just like, for some reason, it's Emma that just doesn't work for me. Now, this being said, yesterday, after I finished this book, because I finished this book yesterday, I also watched the newest TV adaptation. Who is the actress? Anna Taylor-Joy, I think. And I liked it. Like, I like the story itself. It's just the connection that is missing. So I'm happy that I finished this. I wanted a different experience reading Emma and reading my first English Jane Austen. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but oh well. That's how it is. I am not going to dwell on it, especially because I am reading this beautiful masterpiece. So yeah, we're done. We're done with Emma. Oh my, there is a storm coming. Honestly, I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that at all. I am about to film like a huge unhaul video, and I have no idea how I am going to survive that video if the temperature stays like this. It is like around 37-38 Celsius today, and my apartment is really hot, so whatever. Let's just stop complaining. Let's stop the yapping in this video. The point is, the update is that I finished Emma. I take this book off my TBR. Now, on to the next one. The Truth Hurts. I am here with my very first update about this book. Can we just admire the cover for a second though, because I just adore everything about this cover. Now, I read 68 pages last night in this book. I am about to start chapter 8, and like any
thriller books, when you really get into the book, it's like, you know, it just keeps you reading because you want to know what's happening, and it's no different with this book. But I did stop at chapter 8 last night because I was way too tired, but I am guaranteeing that I am finishing this book today, guys. So far, what's happening, without obviously spoiling the book. So our main character is Poppy, and Poppy is a nanny, and she is overworked, she is underpaid, and she's being exploited by the family that she works for very badly. Now she goes on a vacation with the family because somebody needs to look after the kids while mommy and daddy are like, you know, vacationing, whatever, out there partying. And then one night she gets into an argument with her employer and she fires her, and she has no money. Like I don't know, she's got like 50 pounds or 100 pounds or whatever, because these people are English, British, and she has no money to go home. She doesn't have any money, like even to buy a plane ticket. I'm not trying to be judgmental, but I don't really understand how that's possible. Like, how can you go overseas with like 50 pounds or 100 pounds? Like, whatever. She doesn't make any money. That's the point. She's broke. That's the point that the book is trying to make. And then she goes to a bar and she meets this guy, Drew. He's also British, and she tells him everything. And then he's like, I got you, girl. And then they have a one-night stand. And then the next day he buys her all this like expensive stuff, and like they basically start a relationship. And after weeks being together, vacationing together, he's like, we should get married. And she says yes. And then he's like, okay, but I have one condition. We can never talk about the past. So obviously you know that there's something shady going on. And then she's very happy about it because she's like, I don't want to talk about the past. I don't want to talk about my past either. And they got married. Yeah. This is how the book starts, and obviously the story is just about to unfold, and I am really curious what the hell is happening. This is a very fast-paced book, and honestly it's not a long book. Like, look at that font size, and like it's like I'm flying through this book. And again, just like I said, I am definitely finishing this today. I just stopped filming a book talk video. I am going to wash this off and then basically clean the apartment. That's the plan for today. And I have the audiobook from Libby for this book, so I am going to change to the audiobook and basically listen to the audiobook while I clean the apartment. And once I finish the book, I'm going to pop back in to tell you guys my final thoughts. So see you in a couple of seconds. Just finished the book, guys. And I cannot decide right now if the ending of this book is a banger or is it the stupidest thing that I've ever read in my life. Okay, guys, the truth hurts. Let's wrap up this book. Let's discuss this book. My head still hurts thinking about this book, but not in a bad way. I don't mean it in a bad way. This book was very quick and it was very entertaining. No way perfect, but it was just a typical thriller read that, you know, you want to read, you want to finish because you want to know exactly what's happening. When I say that my head still hurts thinking about this book, it basically means that I am left with so many questions after reading this book, and I have absolutely no idea if this is something that the author intended or not. It's something that I just cannot figure it out. This book had so many references to Rebecca and Jane Eyre, and the whole book had some kind of eerie vibe to it. I never read Rebecca or Jane Eyre, so I cannot literally, like, you know, compare the vibes of this book to those books. I'm not going to comment on it, but it did have a certain element that I would expect those two beautiful pieces of literature to have. But I feel like that is the part that was never really discussed in this book. And just like I said, I am left with so many questions because I just don't feel that part of the book was really nicely wrapped up. Hey, it's editing me. I am editing the video right now. I'm also watching Game of Thrones at the same time. So the editing process is kind of slow, but it is happening. Anyways, I just wanted to pop in here with a quick correction because it's been days since I finished the book and now I get it. Now I get it, now I understand the vibes, and now I understand what the author was trying to do, and now I also get the ending. Obviously, I cannot say much because I don't want to spoil the book, but now I totally get it. And I have to correct myself here because I don't think that the author left anything unfinished. I should have made this conclusion when the book ended because the way it ends, it kind of explains everything. I just didn't understand it in the moment, but now I do. So I just wanted to pop in and give a quick correction here. Also, there was one part, just one part, that I figured out at around chapter 30, and I was right. So this one thing I did figure out, but everything else that came at me, I absolutely did not see that coming. And the ending, I've actually realized after sitting with this book for a while that I like the ending. I have decided that the ending is like a damn ending. Ultimately, I think that I recommend this book because this was insanely entertaining and it does what a thriller is supposed to do. But do I think that this is the best thriller book that I've ever read in my life? No. But if you just need something that's quick because, I don't know, you're going to the beach and you need an entertaining read, like, I think that this could be a very, very good choice for that. And still, I am in love with this cover. And in my mind, this book was a success. Maybe more like a thriller on the beginner side, but still it was a success and I enjoyed it. I mean, I did finish this book in like 2 days, you know? And if we look at all the other books that I read in this video, I think that we had a very, very successful reading vlog. This book I loved. The Watchers I loved, and I absolutely recommend that book. Heroes and Villains. Yes, this book shocked me. I think that this is the book in the vlog that really, really shocked me, but ultimately I definitely recommend. Just know exactly, you know, what you're gonna get going into it. It ended badly. As far as non-fictions go, I think that this is an insanely entertaining book, and again, I recommend. And the only book that I didn't really like in this vlog, and just like I said before, multiple times in this vlog now, sorry, I am boring, but Emma, unfortunately, this didn't work for me. Now, looking at these books, I'm actually really happy because I read 5 books, 5 backlist books on my physical TBR, and I enjoyed most of them. So yeah, I think that this was a success. Well, you guys, let me know if you've read any of these books. If you have not read any of these books, let me know which ones tickled your fancy, and also let me know what are your reading plans for the rest of the summer. Hit share, like, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. You are welcome here. I will leave a couple of other videos, probably a couple of other reading vlogs on the screen for you to check out while you are waiting for my other video that is coming very soon. Bye!